All right, let's roll down to San Antonio, Texas, where we'll be joined by Brooklyn Nets star guard Spencer Dinwiddie. And we've got Spencer on because Spencer has one of the most creative, independent minds in all of sports, especially when it comes to business. And so I just want to start there. Where did this creative mind, where did that come from?
I definitely have to give all the credit on these things to my parents. They always told me, to have that free-thinking mind, that I could be anything I wanted to be. My dad's an entrepreneur, and my mom is a PhD from USC. So, two very intelligent people.
All right, so let's start with your creative mind. I think last fall, you put it out there that you would sell bonds to fans who could basically invest in your contract future. Explain to us what you were thinking there and how that concept would work.
Yeah, so I was pretty much thinking about fan engagement as a whole, and the big picture of the business is actually the secondary trading market. Like picture trading like real fantasy sports, Spencer for LeBron, for Kevin Hart, even for, a Jason Whitlock, because you are a public personality as well. So creating the full business was around that, and just using my contract as the initial basis.
Now, more recently, you started a GoFundMe with the goal of raising $24 million, and you let fans go out there and determine where you would sign your one-year contract. Please elaborate on that concept, brother.
No, so that was more fan engagement stuff. I said at 24 million because I knew we wouldn't reach it. There's certain psychology around like numbers and things. So if you set like a unattainable goal, people are less likely to invest. And so it's more so about like showing people what's possible and then doing good for charity. That's why, if we're even a dime under our mark, that it'll all go to charity. So, we ended up raising, we had a couple people match behind the scenes. We ended up raising about $5,000 for charity. And so, I was pretty happy with it and just had a little bit of fun.
Now, interesting, because you said you throw out a number that's unattainable and then you proceed. The GoFundMe didn't raise, obviously, $24 million. It didn't go as well as planned. Does that bother you, or how does that affect your creative mind in going forward?
No, so like I said, I never really intended to raise the 24. So it was more so about like showing people what's possible, which like with a splashy number, it kind of does that. And then I also had the secondary benefit of also doing good for charity, which is, its intended purpose. So to me, that was success. And then, with like the bonds with my contract and stuff, it's actually ongoing. And, we're seeing a lot of good traction. I just can't speak too much about it because of like securities regulations, things like that. And so, you have to like talk to the broker dealer and, all the other like legalese that, go into things of that nature.
That sounds like mogul speak right there. Okay, so the NBA, your league is talking about coming back, but just for the playoffs. You tweeted out, if we go 16 teams directly to the playoffs, do those teams get paid more for the risk and carrying this year's revenue after Corona and China? Sounds like you've been playing a little baseball in your offseason, but that said, you believe they should, and why?
So it's hard to say. I was more so drawing like attention to the risks that come with this, right? If you go 16 teams directly to playoffs, you're asking guys to come back and compete at the very highest level. And, a lot of guys don't necessarily have access to gyms right now in terms of on-court work and all that stuff. So people are trying to stay in shape as best they can, but you're going to tell them to go into championship form immediately. And so there's injury risk. Then you got to couple that with, possibly being quarantined away from your family for, 2-3 months. And, there's mental health aspects to that in terms of, how people adapt and deal with that. So there's just a lot of things that go on. And we also got to remember, like, our revenue isn't only taking a hit because of the pandemic. We also had the situation in China in the preseason that hurt our revenue as a league as well. So there's just a lot of different factors. And I don't think people are necessarily looking at all the factors. Like, if we have to sign a waiver to play and waive some of our protections, I don't think that's something that a lot of NBA players are going to want to do when the pandemic isn't our fault.
Man, I applaud you because it seems like your aspirations go well beyond just being a basketball player. What are your post-career goals?
Really, once I'm done, I poured my heart and soul into this, man. Like, I've been working at being in the NBA and being a great player since I was 3. It's all I ever wanted to do. I really just kind of want to go be a dad and go back to LA and look at the water and add value to the world. That's why I do a lot of different charity stuff. But really, like, I'm going to kick it. Like, when I'm done, I'm going to be done. I've literally the 6 a.m.s, all that stuff, like, I poured my heart and soul into this, and I want to push it as far as it can go the next, decade or half decade or whatever it is. But after that, I'm kicking it.
All right. Clearly, Marcellus and I are really impressed by your creativity, your outspokenness, your kind of fearlessness. But how does management, coaches, management, or some of your teammates, do they ever give you pushback on some of your unique thoughts and approaches?
For my peers and teammates, not really. They talk to me, we have conversations, and so I'm able to more like explain myself. We have more of a brother bond than anything. I would say with management and stuff like that, I think I'm probably more of an acquired taste. I think, when you actually start to be around me every day and understand like where I come from, you understand that like I come from a good place, and like even all my fan engagement stuff, it's about helping the league, because that's how, the league makes money, is through the fans watching. But I can see why it could be misunderstood, and why, management around the league may look at me with a side eye or something like that. It's just kind of part of the way my mind works. But, my teammates understand me, and so that's pretty much the main thing. I love all my teammates.
All right, there may be some NBA fans in Houston looking at you with a side eye. You called Kevin Durant the best scorer in the NBA.
Yes.
Not best player, not best scorer. James Harden isn't the best scorer in the NBA, and if so, why isn't he?
So I have a ton of respect for James. I think in terms of when you start adding in passing as well, he probably creates the most offense, the most efficiently for bar none in the NBA. But when looking at a scorer and a scorer's profile, you're talking about 7'2" guard, with range out to 35 feet, maybe even 40 feet, a handle like a guard. He moves like a 6'4", 6'5" player, and he can just really do everything. So that's where I'm really coming from. He's, a 50, 40, 90 guy, pretty much in his sleep. Obviously 2 finals MVPs. So it's not a shot at James Harden at all. I think when you include passing, he's probably the best offensive creator. But the scorer specifically, in my opinion, KD's the best scorer of all time, either him or obviously Kareem. So it's right there.
Michael Jordan just rolled over in his mansion wherever he's at in Charlotte, North Carolina, which is a perfect segue to this question about Last Dance. Everybody's been watching Last Dance or watched Last Dance. I'm assuming you did. What were your thoughts and impressions of Michael Jordan?
Man, there was a lot. There was a whole lot. That's actually the toughest one. I think for me, it was cool to see a little peek into like the type of competitor he was. I also obviously hear about, some of the former players being mad and things like that. And I guess it just speaks to how polarizing somebody that is that much of an alpha really is, and the lengths he was willing to go to win. So I would probably take inspiration, if anything.
Spencer, thank you for the time. Look forward to you coming back to L.A. And we got some new people in the building. A little crazy, but I'll tell you about it when you're back in L.A. All right,
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. And be sure to check out more of the best clips from Speak For Yourself, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.